Today I want to talk about the Bellcycle, which is what I call my ambient workstation. This thing has evolved a lot over time. It started as one thing and has become quite something else, but a lot of people have been asking me about it, so here we go. As you can see along the outside, there are these Tibetan singing bowls. Some of them are antique and some of them are new. And then in the middle, there's this big cog gear, kind of steampunk thing, and then all the electronics in the middle that I use for all my live improvisations. But what some people don't realize is this whole thing is pedal powered. I'm pedaling to generate the electricity to run the electronics. You can see this big mass of cords underneath. And then there's this little battery bank system that takes the input from my pedaling and the output runs either USB or 120 volt stuff. So it runs all the electronics. And the reason that I use this whole battery system, this solar generator or whatever, is so that I deliver very consistent power to my electronics because they're finicky. And as you can see, I've got this massive sprocket. I pedal, and then there's a bicycle chain that goes right back to a hub motor. It's exactly the same hub motor that somebody would use on an electric bike. The difference is I use mine backward. So on an electric bike, you have your battery bank, and that drives the hub motor, which turns the wheel that gives you power for your bike. In my case, I am creating the power by pedaling. The output goes to a bridge rectifier and a voltage regulator, and then into my little battery bank. The whole thing is welded together on an aluminum frame. It's a recumbent bike, which means you're in a sitting position. You can see the seat there is from an old Harley-Davidson motorcycle to make it super comfortable. So yeah, and there's all these bells attached. And in the background there, you can actually see I'm in a shipping container. I'm buried underground, hidden away somewhere in Canada. That's another story. It's evolved to this thing that I now use. If you've watched any of my ambient sessions, you've seen it. But you may not have noticed that the equipment on it does change, and it's evolving. So I'm just going to walk you through how it happened. When I started, the idea was I was healing up from a medical injury, and I was on these stationary bikes at the gym, and I just thought it was like a waste of time and energy. So I decided to create my own bike thing and pedal for exercise. But the original idea had nothing to do with electronics. You can see in this version that what the chain was driving was actually the rim of a motorcycle wheel. It was kind of like a flywheel just to create some inertia. Anyway, so that was the original idea. There you can see I've got the bells on some wood in front of it, and I just played them with sticks while I was pedaling. So it was just a way to kind of amuse myself while I was getting exercise. Here you can see how I did some of the woodwork. This is some walnut. I actually marked it all up and then cut it with jigsaws to put all those little teeth into it. I wanted to create this cool steampunk look. A friend of mine let me use his woodworking shop, and I went in there. I started drilling holes in the walnut and tried to make it look as steampunky and funky as I could. I had built this half arch. I attached all these bells to it. Then, while I was pedaling one day and I was kind of sitting, I had this set up outside, and I was thinking like, man, I like synthesizers, and I want to do that thing. Like I want to combine these things. So I came up with the idea of adding electronics to it as well. And in this image, you can see I had this microwave synth and my deluge. This was a concept. I was thinking about doing the electronics in front of me and then having it so the whole thing rotated around on a big lazy Susan. Then I'd have the bells in front of me, and then I could spin it around again. But it kind of seemed more involved than I wanted to get. Mainly because trying to get one of these huge lazy Susan things shipped over from China during the pandemic was just like, forget it. So I decided that I was going to put the bells and the electronics in front of me. So I built this other part of this gear. So it's a complete gear now. You can see I had this beautiful burled wood. This is before it was finished. And then here you can see there's a seam between the old original part of the bell with that walnut wood, and then this is actually cherry wood that once again I've gone in there and painstakingly cut out to make it look cool, or so I thought. Here's another view of it before it had any equipment attached to it. So then was the first version of it. I have my deluge sitting on top of it. I did a bunch of sessions like that. I was still trying to figure out how I wanted this whole thing to work. That's when I had my Hydrasynth. You can see there's the massive sprocket that I finally found online that had enough of a ratio that I could get the intensity that I wanted by pedaling. There it is with a Virus TI and another controller at the bottom, the Deluge on top. Tried that for a while. Then I started inserting them. So here in this shot, you can see the Deluge is now set right into the wood. And then there's a Novation launch pad on the right-hand side there that I used because that allowed me to use velocity sensitivity. And then there was a couple of effects there beside that. There you can see the effects on the right-hand side. These are shots from some of my uploads to YouTube. So there you can kind of see it lit up. All the gear is mounted properly. Then, of course, like everybody, I saw a microcosm. And I thought I have to have a microcosm. So there it is installed. So, take the whole thing apart, cut it, and start to install it, rewire it. For a while there, I started using it with the microcosm. Then I moved the effects over onto the left-hand side, as you can see in this shot. And above that, you can see I bought a Cosmos by Soma Labs, which I really liked. Here's a shot of me pedaling it, so you can actually see me using some of the gear. Most of the time when I do sessions now, I pedal it first to generate the electricity, and then I do my session because I found it kind of distracting, pedaling and doing the synth thing. I found the noise floor was a little bit too high, even though I was wearing headphones. Anyway, then I decided to get rid of the Cosmos and get a Mood by Bliss. I've taken out the launch pad, put in an Access Virus Snow and a little controller. The thing on the right-hand side of the Access Virus synth is a preamp for the bells because all the bells have little piezo's attached to them. And it allows me to amplify the signal and then run that through the effects. This is kind of where it is now. I had sold my microcosm to buy the Cosmos. And then I changed my mind, like a stupid guy with gas, and I bought another microcosm and put it up there, and that's what I'm using now. The Bliss Mood Mark II and the microcosm are the two primary effects I use. And I've got another reverb and another little looper on the left-hand side. Anyway, that's kind of the overview of my wacky pedal-powered project. Hope you found that interesting.